Hi guys, Wern here, Vaping Wern, and boy do I have something special with me today. Um, this is the Picolibri Pyra, and this is a DNA 30 box mod. Now, I'm going to be recording a sort of first impressions video of this box, because it's a DNA 30 box. There really isn't that much that I can talk about. But now that I have it in my hand, I will try and give you what I think about it, some of the specifications such as measurement, weight, things like that. But first things first, I just want to say thank you to one of my friends. This actually isn't mine. This isn't mine. As you guys know, I'm not really into the whole DNA thing. I much prefer my Macs. But a batch of these went on sale at Vapebrothers. And Vapebrothers are the, what's the right word? They are the official distributors in Asia for Picolibri products. Now, the Pyra is the latest product from Picolibri, and this is made of Gabon wood, and it's paired with a very nice brass plate. I have it here with the Typhon GT, and currently I'm vaping at 18.5 watts. Not sure if you can see that, 18.5. Now this is a DNA 30, so it goes all the way up to 30. But I only have a 1 ohm coil in here, so I'm not really in a position to push it that high. Then again, I could, but the setup isn't sort of optimal for a very high wattage blast. Right now, if I push it to 30 watts, I'll be pulling 5.5 volts, and I doubt that my liquid will taste very nice with that. On the second rack, I'm already getting a very dry, burnt hit. Whew. Okay, let's kick that back down. 18.5 is sort of nice. But enough talking. Let's have a closer look at the Pyra. Now, as I mentioned, in the front there is this brass plate. It's a very nice plate. It's curved, but with brass, this will always tarnish. When I got it earlier today, it was bright and shiny, and after maybe half an hour usage, I already see some tarnish marks picking up here. So it would be advisable to always probably give it a weekly or 3-day go over with a kit cod cloth to keep it nice and shiny. Unless you're the kind of guy who likes your brass to have character, you want to let it patina, then go for it. Leave it as long as you want it to your preference. Of course, there are a lot of ways that you can, how would I say, force patina. But since this is not a tube mod, I would not recommend you smearing any chemicals here, since it could damage the screen, or more importantly, it could damage the wood. Now, in the front, you have the screen, which is cut this way. Normally they are cut that way across, but this is cut down. It does suit the aesthetic of the Pyra very well, since it's a curved sort of front, and most importantly, the screen is very straight here. I find that this is more of a case of DIY boxes. Sometimes the cutting of the screen section isn't straight. Sometimes the mounting of the screen isn't straight. But when you're paying for top dollar for a high-end mod, you expect things like this to be well taken care of, and it is. On top of the screen, you have the fire button, and below you have the voltage down, and the voltage up. Now, these are the same tactile buttons as you find on a lot of DIY mods on the HANA boxes and things like that, even on the Wapari W box for the voltage up and down. But one important thing that I have to say is that these are soft touch buttons. If you've used a W box before, or if you used a HANA box before, you notice that they have a noticeable click to them when you're adjusting the voltage or wattage, actually, even on the fire button. If you remember, I had a little DIY box mod as well, and that's using the same buttons. All three buttons are the same. However, those are very resistant and give a very, very loud click when you press on them. Um, I'm not sure if they tune the buttons or remove a spring or something like that on each button, but the way that they have tweaked the buttons on the Pyra make it very, very nice to press. It doesn't give out a very loud click. It does click, but it's not that high pitched clickety click. It's a very low pitched click, and it's very comfortable to press. And I guess that's important when your firing button is this size. Again, I go back to another example, which is the W box by Wapari. The firing button is much, much bigger than this. I'm not sure how many, what's the exact measurement of the firing button of that, but it's way bigger than this. And when you have a flat firing button that's larger, um, of course, it'll be easier to press. Now, this one, the problem is if it is too hard to click, it will leave an indent in your thumb or your index finger, whichever you use to press. Yeah, so back to that point, these are very nice soft press buttons. Now, on the top of the Pyra is the 510 connection, and unlike a lot of box mods, DNA 20 mods, branded or unbranded alike, uh, the 510 connection here is adjustable, and I find that to be a champion of a move, which puts this head and shoulders above a lot of the branded box mods out there, things like the ADV, things like the HANA, and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, those are great boxes, but the lack of an adjustable 510 could lead to some problems. One of them is if you're using a ATI with a longer than usual 510 pin, 510 connection, you could end up pushing down the pin. And since it's non-adjustable, when you push it down, when you change atomizers to something with a shorter connection, something like, say, the Kraken, since the connector is already pushed down, you will not make contact and you might not be able to fire. One way you sort of get around this is with a screwdriver. You sort of dig the connector back up. It works, it definitely works, but you do not get optimal contact. Number one, you're damaging the insulator there. Number two, and you're risking making it too loose. Number three, and if it's too loose, if you turn it upside down, you might risk the connection dropping out, or worst of all, this is a case that I've heard complaints from several ADV users already. The 510 connection, the whole 510 connection either pops out or the pin just sinks in, and you need to send it back to the Philippines to repair. Those are very, when you're paying close to 1,000 ringgit, more than 1,000 ringgit for a box mod, those are things that you don't want to have to worry about. And on the Pyra, there is a very nice adjustable pin. All you need to do is get a flathead screwdriver and tweak it as you wish. You can get it all the way in, so your atomizer sits completely flush, or you can let it stand out just a bit. And I like to let it stand out just a bit. There's probably less than half a mil of space here between the bottom of the Typhoon and the top of the Pyra. I'm intentionally doing that because I do not want to leave sort of scratch marks, the circle marks on the Pyra. Again, since this isn't mine, if it was mine, I probably would let it sit completely flush. But again, that's personal preference. That's personal preference. The 510 deck is much smaller when you compare it to something like, let's say, the Champion box, the Champion mod. That one has a whole 22mm piece of brass there. So basically, when you let your atomizer sit completely flush. You have no risk of scratching the metal on top since it's directly on that connector. The connector size on this one, on the Pyra, is pretty small, it's pretty standard. So again, as I mentioned, if you always change atomizers, if you always let it sit completely flush, and you always like to jiggle. Let's say if you're using something like a K-Fun light that you have to unscrew it to refill, you do risk leaving some scratch marks. You do risk sort of liquid seeping into the wood around this area, and that will leave some scratches or watermarks, which of course will take away from the aesthetics of the Pyra. Okay, so we talked about the front panel, the buttons. We talked about the 510. On the bottom, there is a USB connector. This is a micro USB, micro USB, the same sort of connection that you use to connect to your Android phones, your BlackBerry phones, and a lot of other micro USB devices, things like tablets and whatnot. So if you don't want to charge it by taking out the battery, you can just plug in your USB cable and charge it straight from there. There is an LED indicator next to it, so when you plug it in, when it's charging, it'll be red. When it's full, it'll go green. If you do not want to sort of charge it through that way, you can actually take out the battery on the Pyra, and that is taken out by opening this section. See, this piece of wood comes out, and that reveals your battery section. Now, right now, I'm using a Panasonic NCR 18650PF. This is the battery that gives a 10 amp discharge and a 2900 mAh capacity. To take it out, you just press on the spring, put it out. Now, with this sort of setup, you can see it's not soldered, it's not using the plastic battery holders, it's not using a keystone box. So it does offer you some flexibility in terms of usage wise. That means instead of having to always carry a power bank with you, you can just carry 2 or 3 of these batteries if you know you're going to go through them. And when you're out on the go, you just want to vape. You don't want to have your DNA 20 box always connected to a power bank. So you can just pop open the back, take out the flat battery, put in a fresh one, cover it back, and you're on the go, you're vaping again. From here, we can see the positive and negative leads. These just pop out a little, and they're soldered onto the contact points. Right now, I can't tell you whether they are just stainless steel or they're silver plated. Although they do look silver plated to me, I will confirm that in sort of the annotations of this video. The negative is actually soldered not on the base of the spring, but right within the spring itself. So I'm guessing that will give better connectivity. I'm using a flat top with this, but let me see if I have a nipple top battery anywhere. Give me a second. I'll edit this part. No need. It's just sitting right here. So I have a nipple top AWIMR 18650. Let's just slot that in, and yes, it fits in very well. The spring just compresses a little. The display turns on. So yep, it will work with a nipple top or a flat top like the Panasonic. And I think these Panasonics are getting very popular these days. They have a high amp discharge, which work well with the sort of high watt output on the DNA 30 chips. So that's something that you could consider. Okay, so to put it back, now this back panel is held by 4 magnets here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are very small magnets, and there are some more magnets here. 1, 2, 3, 4. But according to Vapebrothers, when I bought it, they told me that each piece of wood, basically, if the back cover on this piece of this unit of Picolibri, it will not fit on another Picolibri, because all boxes are unique, handmade, whatever. But according to them, this piece won't fit on your piece, and vice versa. We'll have to test that out one day, right? To close the battery cover, you just have a you just firmly press it down. It'll give you a resounding click, and it closes very nicely, very flush. Okay, so we've talked about the pin, positive. We talked about the front display with the buttons, positive. We talked about the USB port, positive. We talked about the changeable battery, positive. Um, so it seems like everything is positive on this video so far, but as you know, nothing is perfect. Well, then again, you're paying top dollar for this device. This retail at 1,400 ringgit. I believe that if you buy it direct from Picolibri, if you're living overseas, it will cost you the equivalent to about 1,200 ringgit. So the markup isn't really to a flipper level, you know. They are doing it, they are pricing it very competitively as the official distributor, but still you are paying top dollar for this box. And of course, you expect it to be perfect. However, there are several tiny imperfections to each box. And I might be nitpicking, but since we're doing a video about it, let's just cover all the bases. First things first, this joint where it joins the back cover. I'll try and put it close, but there are gaps. There are gaps in the wood, top, bottom, even on the side here. Although it fits snug, it fits very well, it's not a perfect fit, it's not a glove fit. When you put it up to the light, you can see the light coming through the top, you can see the light coming through the bottom, and to me that's a minor negative. Again, it's down to how the wood is crafted, and because it's wood expands and compresses according to the temperature, surrounding temperature. So that could be an allowance. Maybe it's a warm day today, so the size is as such. Who knows, if it's a cold day, the wood might expand or compress even more. Now, the same thing applies to the gap at the brass panel here. On both sides, if I lift it up to the light, again, I can see through from one end to the other. I can see the light coming in. And that shows that, again, the brass isn't completely flush with the wood. Again, back to what the official response to that is that wood is, it's organic, it always compresses and expands, so this is a sort of a allowance that they put there, so as not to damage the wood itself. Another sort of reason they gave was that each unit is handmade, even though the video does show it being cut by machine, but I guess it's hand assembled. So yeah, that's also another reason which they give. Personally, those are two things which I can live with. I definitely can live with these sort of so-called imperfections. Again, I feel that I'm nitpicking, because once it sits in your hand, I don't have extremely big hands, I don't have very tiny hands, I have quite, I would think, very regular, normally sized hands. When I'm holding a GP PEPS 590 and a 490 tube, I can hold it this way. When I hold a 350 device, it does get rather small, and sort of the size of the Picolibri Pyra, it feels very right. The fire button, you have your index finger over the fire button, you have your thumb at the back here, so giving it support, grip. You have your second last finger above here, your little finger at the bottom. It does feel very nice in the hand. It feels very solid and very comfortable in the grip. Again, compliments to the button. That's definitely a very nice button. Let me give you some weight measurements with battery, without battery, of course without the atomizer. Now I have a little scale here. I'll just reset that to 0. Ta, ta, ta. Okay, let's do grams. With battery, without atomizer, this weighs 133.4 grams. Now this is with the Panasonic battery. 133.4 grams. I'm just going to remove the battery. Put this back together. Without battery, it weighs 87.6 grams. 87.6 grams. So this is a rather light type of wood because it's generously used. It's used in the frame and on the back. I'm quite surprised that it's so light. It's so light, but it does feel very sturdy, and that's probably due to how this back section locks in. If it didn't lock in as the way it does, then it definitely would feel a whole lot more flimsier. Let's see. Just for kicks, I'm going to weigh it with an atomizer on it. Of course, this is in no way a accurate way to weigh a mod, but I'm just going to do it anyway since I have the scale out already. So let's put that in and weigh it. Okay. With a Typhoon, it goes about 230 grams. So still, it's quite a light mod to hold. Just for comparison, I'm going to weigh my GP packs with a Versa on it. I'm running an 18490 battery here. And in comparison, this weighs 220 grams. 10 grams lighter than this setup. But I'm guessing because of the density, or rather the size of this, the way it's built, you feel the weight straight away. It feels very heavy. And because of the width and how the weight is spread across your hand, this feels much lighter. Now, would I buy it? Considering the options, for 1,400 ringgit, what else could you get for 1,400 ringgit? The first thing comes to mind is, of course, a new HANA mod that will cost you about 1,001.5 maybe. So for an extra 100 odd, 200 odd ringgit, yes, I would save to buy the Pyra. Compared to an ADV, you're looking at about 1,000 as well. However, on that you get double the battery life, but you do not get an adjustable 510, and the 510 is quite notorious to break down. So yes, I would save up and get the Pyra. Comparing this to something like the W box, if you're able to get it at retail, then why not? But personally, I would still get the Pyra. Only because how would I put it? Only because I won't have to I can get this relatively easier at retail. I don't have to stay up late for a list. I just logged on to, I can either log on to Vapebrothers.com or just pop by their shop. When I went there this afternoon, they had 5 units for sale. I was lucky. Mine wasn't the last unit. They still had one more unit there. But in terms of ease of access, this one is still much easier to access than a W box. Instant gratification. I didn't have to wait 2 weeks for it to arrive or pay through my nose for FedEx. So based on the accessibility wise, I would say I'll buy this. And truth be told, I haven't been much of a fan of the W box anyway. one of the reasons is the clickety click of the up down buttons, and one more reason is because I don't quite enjoy pressing that large 510 button. I always thought that that would be a very nice button to press, but when I finally tried one, I found that the throw of the button was too short for my liking. But no offense to W Box owners out there, I know you love your W Box. It's a beautiful device, but um, in terms of price range, it's completely off from what the Pyra is going for. So compared to a W Box, the Pyra is affordable after all. But yes, if you are looking at the more commercial available boxes, Hana, ADV, DZ Nuts, whatnot, which all hover around the 1,000 ringgit price point, do try and get one of these at retail. Why not? Now, one thing I left out was the retail packaging that came in. And you know what? Why don't I just pop out and get the retail packaging right now? Okay, I'm sorry about that quick sort of break. I went out and picked up the retail box from the hall, and just a quick look at it. On the side, on the front, actually, there is no sort of branding. This is just a plain black box, no branding on it, except this handwritten sticker. I believe this is handwritten by Picolibri site, not Vapebrothers site, because I saw someone else post this picture up as well. So it just says Pyra by Picolibri, the serial number, this is number 26. You open it up, you get a quick sort of manual that tells you if you're not using the Pyra for a long time, remove the battery, minimum value of course is 0.5 ohm or what. It's just some quick disclaimers about the DNA chip and the box itself. I bought this from Vapebrothers, so it does come with a certificate of authenticity with the date, model, and whatnot at the back. I got the receipt, and inside the box you get a piece of Cape Cod cloth which has been cut into size, and this is for the brass in front. You get a sort of a box of wax and a sort of sponge here, and this is to give your the wood on the Picolibri a good waxing once a week. They recommend once a week to maintain the shine and the finish of the Gabon wood. Inside there's also a buffing cloth and sufficiently padded with a nice pack of silica gel. Do not eat this. Okay, so that's just the breakdown of the retail box. Very nicely put together, very thoughtful, especially with the Cape Cod, the section of Cape Cod cloth, and especially the bees wax here. That's going to be essential to sort of keep the sheen and the nice smooth finish on the Pyra. I also looked through the Picolibri site, the Vapebrothers site, and also through Vaporwall where Picolibri was talking about the Pyra. They do not actually say what materials the contacts top and bottom are coated by, but I'm thinking that they are silver plated based on the way they look. They do, however, sort of talk about the 510 connection, and the 510 connection is indeed brass. So this is a brass connection here. You get very good conductivity from that. Not as conductive as copper, but it's more durable than copper in terms of hardness, and it won't patina that often, so you don't have to pick it out and clean it up that often. What else? In regards to the brass plate in front, this is apparently hand hammered, so I guess that could explain the sort of small gap. Okay, so I've covered all the bases. In terms of retail price, this goes for 1,400 ringgit Malaysia. How much is that in US dollars? Let's just do a quick USD. That goes for 426 US dollars. Reasonable price. You get it at retail, very, very reasonable. Now, I've talked too much already. Just one final word. Thank you, buddy, for letting me play around with this before I send it over to you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it now. It's a shame that I didn't get one for myself, but that's mainly because I know me. I can't own nice things. I would drop this within a week, the wood would crack, I'd be pissed off. So no, I can't own nice things like this. Okay, guys, I'm just going to leave you with a quick vape. It's hump day. Have a good Thursday and Friday ahead. The weekend is coming soon. Vape on, brothers.